Did you clap?
I did. Hey everyone, I'm Ryan. And that's Steve. He's making notes.
And I'm Steve, and this is 60 Cycle Hum, the guitar buying, selling, trading, modding, fixing, breaking, reviewing, playing podcast.
We're back at it, Steve. Back in the saddle again. We're back.
Yep.
First ad?
First ad was sent by Dave Harbor. I think he's Dave Harbor 2.
As well. Dave Harbor as well.
Dave Harbor, the number 2. He sent this in.
Dave Harbor, the sequel.
I was trying to think of some good sequels. Oh, yeah.
It made us laugh.
Dave,
I don't know, guys.
Dave Harbor 2, First Blood? No, anyway.
So this is a Les Paul Custom by Epiphone.
Yeah, bling, bling, bling. Beautiful Epiphone Les Paul Custom. All the bells and whistles. Floyd Rose locking nut. Grover Gold tuners. Bigsby style tremolo. That's what that is. Tremolo.
He was trying to spell it the way I pronounce it.
Fantastic shape. Humbucker pickups. New strings. Damn, new strings?
I know, right?
Baller. Only $5.95. I have no idea where this is.
It don't matter where it is. But this guy joined Facebook in 2009.
I want to know if this comes with one of the fender strap that's on the wall. Okay, maybe that joke wasn't that good.
No, it's not really a joke.
Oh, it's in Rio Vista, California, wherever that is.
So this thing at first glance is pretty attractive looking, especially for, what is it, $595, $600?
Yeah.
It looks like a hot Epiphone, gold hardware, kind of like a, black with binding.
Mm-hmm.
This is a nice looking Epiphone, but the thing that made me want to talk about it, the thing that caught my eye, I mean, clearly this guy's done all sorts of retrofitting to it. He put a off-brand Bigsby on there, and who else knows what else.
Yeah.
He swapped out the nut. He removed the nut and installed a Floyd Rose locking nut. Where there used to be a standard like Gibson style nut.
So
it's paired with a Bigsby.
Right.
Like, what do you think about pairing a Bigsby with a Floyd Rose locking nut? Like, that's my question.
How do you tune this?
That's the thing. Like, because a Floyd Rose has micro adjusters on it, because after you lock the nut, the strings can get pulled a little bit or just be a little bit off, and you want to make micro adjustments. You can't do that with a Bigsby. Also, a Bigsby paired with a Tune-O-Matic bridge, which has a really hot break angle on this, by the way. If you look at that break angle, because it's the trapeze style long Bigsby that's going over the butt end of the guitar. So, I mean, if this guy had done a Vibromate with, a B5, like the shorter style Bigsby, it would have given it a softer break angle, and you could have thrown a roller bridge on here, and it might have made a little bit more sense. But if those strings bind at all on that bridge, like, the guitar is just going to be out of tune, like every time you touch that Bigsby, and you're going to be reaching for an Allen wrench to undo the nut every single time. It doesn't matter if the nut is locked. The bridge isn't locked.
I don't even understand how this nut is installed.
Yeah, it's like, is it even in the right place? Because it looks like there's a lot of material missing there.
It almost looks like they
had to shim that thing. That's got to be
the slot, and like moved it because on a Les Paul style guitar, you basically have like the acoustic nut, and that would go right up against the truss rod cover.
I think that at first glance, this piece of wood popping out underneath it, at first glance, I thought it was the material where the nut used to be. No, that's a shim. That's been placed underneath the nut. You can see the edge there, how it's poking up. So they made some sort of shim that's fitting down into where the nut used to be, and then this is screwed down through that. And that's another thing. You're introducing screws to hold down that nut into an already very brittle headstock joint.
I didn't even think about that.
This guitar looks very clean at first glance, but then when you really think about this,
it's just got some weird. And it's got some stuff that like...
It's got some weird going on for sure. I want to try it. I mean, if I saw this at a store, I would pick it up and be like, I've got to try this.
Part of me wonders,
Because like, what if a locking nut plus Bigsby is super cool?
Part of me just wonders, like, maybe this thing was already, like, had a broken headstock, and the guy's like, well, this thing already broke. Let's put it back together and do something weird.
Maybe. I think he would have mentioned that, though. This guy mentioned everything else.
Yeah, that's true.
Also,
well, maybe
Epiphone's got the new headstock, so why would you ever buy an old Epiphone?
Maybe I'm
on that new Epiphone train.
He's just assuming, like, all the bells and whistles includes pre-broken headstock. Everyone knows that.
Everything you'd expect with a Les Paul.
All right, this guy wants $600. What would you give him?
Man, I'd have to go try it first before even getting close to that. If this was, without having touching it, without playing it, just buying it off the internet, like, shoot. That's tough.
I got a number.
Because that could I'd have to ask some questions. I'd be like, is the nut thing reversible? Can I take it back to a normal nut? Or is it permanently molested?
My range on this guitar is $227 to $251.
Very specific. Is there a reason for that specific range, Steve?
Because specific numbers are funny.
That's true. I can get behind that. Yeah, I mean, he's clearly put a lot of work into it, and he wants to get some of his money and time back. In stock condition, what do you think this goes for?
Like 400, 450, somewhere in there.
Yeah, you got to start at stock condition. It doesn't matter the work that he's done.
Well,
and then knock off $100
because it's weird work. So it's like,
yeah,
if this was an actual, even though the work is wonky, like you said, you have this.
It looks like clean. It looks like clean work, but the concept.
Well, like you said, there's this super hard break angle with the Bigsby. But if that was an actual like B50, is it the B50 the trapeze?
I think it's. I can't remember, or it's like the B7 or whatever,
yeah,
B9.
Even if it was like a licensed Bigsby, if this was an actual Bigsby branded thing and not just something that came up from Guitar Fetish or AliExpress or whatever, just a generic, import Bigsby copy.
Yeah.
Then you can at least maybe add that to the value, but in this case, you can't really add this to it. Try to like say like, oh yeah, I used quality parts. No, you got like the cheapest thing here.
It's probably a $30 trim off of eBay.
No, exactly.
And it's cool that he matched all the gold hardware and whatever, but man, that's a rough sale. Like once you're looking at it and you're figuring out like how weird that is, like that's a rough sale.
Yeah.
And I feel a little bad because I think Dave posted it to the group saying like, I'm gonna go buy this.
Oh, really? I mean, it looks really cool.
Dave, let us know how did it turn out.
I don't know. Even like the Grover tuners, like I guess that's maybe an upgrade, but on a Les Paul Custom, like an Epiphone Les Paul Custom, I feel like the tuners should be fine.
Yeah,
the
they should be
fine.
fine.
You don't really need to swap that out. I don't know.
I feel like your gut reaction to the price is pretty close. I feel like 300 is the max, but like 250 is like. You've tempted me. I'll try this.
250s were like,
I've got to go try this, But Dave said that he's interested, so maybe we don't know. We don't understand the market for these things.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm not going to buy it. I'd try it though. I'd try it all day. I'd put it through its paces. Like, does the locking nut plus Bigsby work? Is that something I need in my life?
Right.
I'm trying to imagine. Could you somehow incorporate micro tuners in a Bigsby design? Maybe. It'd be quite an engineering feat, though.
You'd have to,
it'd be some sort of like mount on that bar that would allow you to change the tension of each individual string. But then the whole thing's kind of floating, which sucks.
Yes, I feel like as soon as you start to like tighten it, your Bigsby is going to like counter. Which I guess like you would have the same issue with the Floyd.
You've got to have a super slippery bridge for this to work at all. Because any binding on that bridge and it's just all over.
Yeah.
Like you're releasing the Allen keys on the nut every time you use the Bigsby because you've got to retune it. because you're gonna ping and ting on those saddles all day long.
I also just realized that this Bigsby is just smashed on top of, which I didn't, I didn't realize in the pictures before, but it's just sitting right on top of the original tailpiece mount.
Right. Yeah, it's
which, I mean, it makes sense, but it's like you said, like, why if you're gonna do that, like, just get a Vibramate.
Yeah, they should have done the Vibramate and gotten a different model. But I think they were going for looks with this thing. If you love the looks, hang it on your wall. Don't get rid of it. But if this guy loved this guitar, if it was a good concept and a good player, I don't think he'd be selling it with the amount of work he put into it.
I don't know. You don't know. Hard times.
Yeah. All right. What's new, Steve? You have anything new?
I don't have anything new, really.
So
I feel like I should, but I don't.
I got something.
What do you got,
And
Ryan?
it's the second version of it.
Okay.
Do you want to guess what I got?
The second version
of
this thing you got.
Version 2.
And it's not the guitar. Is it a guitar?
No, it's not a guitar.
I have no idea.
Diabetes, type 2, baby.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I've been going to the doctor. I got the high blood sugar. I'm screwed. That's all I've got for what's new.
That's rough.
Yeah, I know.
It's actually funny because at the Super Bowl party, like, I don't know, I'm in like this weird fringe rumor circle. So Super Bowl party, and one of the people there is like, "Did you hear Ryan has high blood sugar and might be like pre-diabetic?" And I'm like,
our wives
I don't know,
wives
man.
are talking.
I'm like, I don't know. Well, and you know who I'm talking about.
Sure.
And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I go over there and I'm not like, "Hey, Ryan, how's your
how's your blood sugar?
What's your cholesterol this month?" Like, also because like I don't go to the doctor. Like, I don't I don't know what any of my counts are.
I went to the doctor because I'm more TMI here, guys.
Yeah.
I've been trying to schedule a vasectomy. So I got all this stuff going on in my medical life. And like they wouldn't answer, like the department wouldn't answer my phone call. So I'm like, I guess I'll just make an appointment and go in and talk to someone in person to schedule this thing. So I go in, and also my shoulder's been bugging me.
Right.
The doctor looks at me and he's like, "Anyone in your family diabetic?" I'm like, "Yeah, my parents are." He's like, "Okay, we're going to test you."
Jeez.
So there's a big genetic component there. But I got checked out for everything else. They ran my blood through every test there is. And otherwise, I'm super healthy. So I don't know. I've got genetic type 2
So what I'm
diabetes.
hearing is you're not interested in the sprinkles cupcake that's in my car.
I'm interested in it. I'll watch you eat it.
No, I'm taking it home. Taking it home. I told my wife she can eat it tonight or the kids can have it tomorrow. And she said, the kids already have too many treats. But I didn't tell her what it is. I just told her I'm bringing you something nice.
Nice.
I got it from work. They brought them into like one of our vendors brought 2 boxes of cupcakes into work.
I don't miss that part of working in an office, just the constant flow of like treats and like junk food and stuff, because I can't help myself. Like at home I can help myself. I can choose not to buy stuff at the store and not bring it home. But in the workplace, when you're already feeling like crappy and you're looking for that comfort fix, that birthday sheet cake in the break room, I wouldn't be able to resist it. So I don't know. I'm doing fine so far. I'm like 2 or 3 weeks into this, and I've already brought my numbers down pretty good.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I'm doing all right. Guys. Don't worry about it. Personal stuff here in the What's New on a Guitar show.
Something's got to be new.
You want to talk about the album exchange?
Yeah, this week's album was Prince and the Revolution's Purple Rain.
By the way, guys, we've decided that we are taking our album suggestions exclusively from the Inner Circle Patreon group.
Or from our own brains.
Well, I think there's enough there to work with from the Patreon that we're set. We don't have to think of stuff. We can if we want. But we'll post it in the Patreon when we do it. So yeah, Purple Rain by Prince. I'd never listened to a full Prince album before. Have you?
I started trying to listen to 1999 a few weeks ago, but I didn't really have the time or was in the mood. A little too.
Yeah.
A little too. It was like, I don't know. It's fun.
Also, you didn't
It's
have to
fine.
do it for your podcast show.
Yeah.
You know,
I wasn't getting paid to do it, so why would I listen?
paid. Steve thinks I'm going to pay him.
Dang it!
So what did you think of this thing? I got to pull up my notes.
I did actually take notes this time.
Whoa.
Trying to keep up with you a little bit. The first thing is, actually, one thing I will say is I feel like the front and back end of this album are trying to make you feel like you're at church.
It's definitely got a big soulful thing.
Because like Let's Go Crazy opens with like this dearly beloved speech. And then Purple Rain just sounds like
oh man,
a bunch of like not the kind of church music we play because we're white, but the kind of church music we wish we could play if we were actually good at music.
Right, totally. No, it's soulful. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's building. It like leaves you on the cliff with this just like these pauses and then just resolves with Purple Rain. And it's like, it makes you feel things, you know?
I don't remember Let's Go Crazy having a shred solo at the end. I feel like
all these songs have shreds in them.
Did they cut that off of like the radio version of Let's Go Crazy?
There was another question I had for one of the songs. Dove's Cry.
Yeah.
The intro on the album, like I've never heard that intro before. And I'm wondering if the radio edit is they fade in after that intro.
Yeah,
because
maybe.
there's like this weird, like quirky part at the beginning that I've never heard before. But that's definitely like, there's like 3 radio songs on this.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. You know, we've all heard Dove's Cry, you know.
When Dove's Cry has that, like, I was really keyed in on it, has like the quintessential 80s, like super reverby, like kind of, I don't know if it's a reverse snare, but it's definitely some kind of like, it's 80s snare drum.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the thoughts I had while listening to it is like, what did I say? It was a comment on the keyboards. Ice cold 80s keyboards never felt so alive as they do in this album, you know? Because you're listening to it and like, that's just that hard, cold, early
like
keyboard sound.
It's very plinky, but it like...
But then like the way it works with the music and just the soul of the music, it just feels alive. It's so organic feeling, even though like it's very 80s production value, very 80s instrumental kind of qualities to it. But just like, it's kind of like when I really started listening to Oingo Boingo and like I started to sit there and listen to it like, oh my gosh, the composition on this goes all the way down. Like every beat has beats between it that go down and down, down. Melodies have harmonies, which have sub melodies. And like, there's all this stuff going on with these tracks.
Right.
And like, you can sit there and focus on it and then realize there's something underneath it. And there's something that's built on. And it's very, very like heady music stuff. Like there's things going on. What was my note on here? Every song explores using pretty dang bonkers sounds and changes in pop music. Like this is supposed to be like pop music, but there's stuff going on that is like super experimental sounding.
Well, one of the things I thought was interesting is that a lot of the songs sounded... Some of them sounded like things I should have recognized from older. So like the song Take Me With You. The main like riff in it, the whole time I was like, this is so familiar, but I can't figure out what it is. It was like kind of doo-woppy, but then also still very Prince. And then one of the song I Would Die For You, the way the guitar interacts with everything else that's going on, I'm like, this is every Carly Rae Jepsen song.
Right.
Like there's just this very like, so there's definitely something where you're listening to it and you're hearing bits and pieces and you're like, this is what current pop music sounds like.
Right.
Like you could put this album out right now. You'd have to put like a little different shine on it, but you wouldn't not have to do a lot of work.
You could recreate like a lot of the sounds and a lot of the techniques that are happening and it would sound like a modern song. I mean, another thought on this album is there's nothing passive about this album.
No.
Prince grabs you every moment of this and forces you into whatever journey he wants to take you on, and you can't stop. Like, he is guiding you the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just dominates.
Right.
It's ridiculous. It's just completely ridiculous. And like my thought, like when on the first track,
mm-hmm.
it drops into this kind of retro throwback vibe, like this Motown doo-woppy sort of vibe. And it's just so positive and so upbeat and such like just party time with this song that's overwhelming. And I started to think about when this album would have come out, the experience you would have had interacting with this album. You would have gone and bought it.
Right.
So you would go to a store, you would buy this album, you would take it home or put it into your car player.
Mm-hmm.
First song that plays, any like tinge of buyer's remorse out the window.
Right.
You're just like, I've done it. I've invested in a kick-ass album. I'm gonna wear this out. And then for like the next 3 or 4 songs, like Prince takes you on an experimental trip.
Yeah.
Like he starts you off just like full confidence. This is everything you've ever wanted from music. And then the rest, you're like, where is he taking me? What is happening right now?
Yeah, I think it's like the 4th or 5th track is Computer Blue.
Yeah.
All I wrote on my note was Computer Blue, and then I couldn't figure out what to write because there's so much going on and like it's so off the wall that I'm just like, this is very solidly pop, but also very solidly like I don't even know what to say about it.
I couldn't process it. I was having the same situation. All I wrote was Computer Blue is a journey. Because it keeps changing and it keeps becoming something different. And each time it's like, this could have been its own song. Every like 40 seconds it changes into something else. Prince has got to be ADD or ADHD or whatever. Like the directions these things go, all these songs go, and how much is packed into every song is bonkers. And like,
just like, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this.
And like I hinted at earlier, like you said, oh, I didn't know there was a shred solo in this song. Every song has some sort of like crazy guitar thing going on in it.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because it's like, there's some of that is, and you saw this in like, you see this kind of pop up here and there. Actually, I saw this when I was watching the Grammys the other night, that this is still a thing for some artists. And it was definitely a thing for Prince where, and I remember this from his Super Bowl performance too, where he'd do his whole song and he's just walking, like doing nothing. The guitar's just there and you're like, why do you even have the guitar?
Right.
And then the last 30 seconds of the song is just him going crazy on guitar. And you're like, literally this song was 4 minutes of like synths.
Yeah.
But you're like, no, this season, we got to finish this with a guitar solo.
Yeah.
And
he kept that guitar in his pocket the whole time, is saving it for the right moment. Where, someone like me or whoever, this is like, oh, I'm holding the guitar. I got to play every 16th note has got to be a guitar note, you know?
We going to talk about Darling Nikki?
Yeah.
My exposure to this song, my original exposure to the song was the Foo Fighters cover of it. And I remember listening to it and going like, I don't know what to think about this.
I didn't hear this song until I was probably in college or whatever. And then the Foo Fighters one came out soon after.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about it at the time because I was older. But when this song came out, I would have been a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And hearing this song when it came out would have been like finding porn in the woods. Like it would have been like if someone gave me this album when I was a kid, like, hey kid, here's a Prince album. This is really popular right now. And then that song came on, I would be like listening to it in my room with headphones with a pillow on each side, with the volume turned all the way down to make sure my mom couldn't hear that I was listening to it, even though she would have no idea what was going on. Yeah. Because I'd feel like so like guilty, like this is a dirty song. Like across this album, Prince takes you to church, he takes you to the club, he takes you to outer space, and he takes you to bed. It's like he takes you everywhere.
Sometimes all in the same song.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just like lyrically, like it really is like finding a dirty magazine.
Right? Yeah, it's interesting.
It's very interesting. Jeez, Prince. I mean, there's so much to say about this. It's ridiculous. Another thought I had is like, who is this album for? Like, if I could rewind back to when this album came out, I don't know who I would recommend this album to.
It's for Prince.
That's who it's for. It's his journey, and he's taking you along on it.
A lot of the, because that was just, it's Prince and the Revolution, so it's him and his band, and then a lot of like the singers, the like harmonies or whatever, are these women who, like, he was, I don't want to say what's the word that they would use. I don't want to say grooming, because that has like really negative connotations now. But like at the time, I think that's
he was like apprenticing him.
Like an apprenticeship for all of these different like artists, And so it's like, I think some of these songs is just like, okay, this is an artist that I want to like promote. I want to bring up. What kind of song do I need to put on this album to make this artist famous?
Right. But like what demographic would you say like would buy this album? I just feel like if you listen to Prince in the right mind frame, you're a Prince fan. He will force you to be a Prince fan.
I think,
but like, how do you sell this album?
I think his energy was such, and his like popularity was such that like, because even if you say like, okay, this has like the 3 singles that we were aware of. I don't know if any of these others were singles at the time, but like Let's Go Crazy, When Doves Cry, Purple Rain, like those 3 songs were so big that people who are buying this album for any of those 3 songs, the rest of it doesn't matter. Like they're invested.
Right.
And like you said, like you have Let's Go Crazy at the beginning, you have Purple Rain at the end. So you're going to listen to everything in between.
Yeah.
Just to go from A to B. A to Z? I don't know.
Ridiculous. Call it. All right.
You got anything else?
Someone sent us email suggestions on things I could say for the transition to the sponsorships.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember what any of those were?
One of them was Who's Picking Up the Tab?
All right, Who's Picking Up the Tab?
This week's first sponsor is D'Addario. D'Addario makes strings. D'Addario makes the D'Addario XT string. The XT string has a ultra thin coating. People, it's funny because people are like, oh, you're always promoting those D'Addario strings.
Someone posted that they bought some on the group.
Yeah. And they're like, I hate coated strings. And I've like literally been like, they just feel slick. They don't feel coated.
Right. I saw someone else post a picture on a different group of the elixirs they had just put on a guitar. Mm-hmm. And like a few days in, like that coating had started to shred. Yeah. I haven't had anything like that.
Yeah.
On any of the guitars I put these on, and I've only been playing the guitars that I've been putting these strings on. Actually, I want to put these 11s on that Fender Lead 3 because we were talking about how it feels like it has 9s on it, and I like a heavier string. Yeah. So I'm gonna do that soon. I'm gonna restring it. I'll probably do like a gut shot video of it. Oh, by the way, that's a new thing too.
That's what I thought.
Fender hit me up and sent me a guitar. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, let's talk about Fender in the middle of this D'Addario sponsor spot. Go check out. If you haven't tried the XC strings, I would say like if you have a favorite string brand, I get it, whatever. I think you owe it to yourself to at least try.
Yeah, give them a shot.
One pack.
They're not expensive either. I think they're like $5 or $6 or whatever.
Really?
No, they're not like a crazy expensive like premium price for the strings. They're just a regular price string. It just happens to have this like super thin, super comfortable coating on it, and it sounds like a great string too.
Yeah, go check them out, or go check out the link in the show notes. That'll take you to their website where you can learn more.
Buy stuff, go ahead and tell us if you want to, but tell D'Addario first. Tag him on Instagram. I don't know. Topic. Let's do a topic. Budget guitar expectations is what I wrote down. You like my little song?
No.
This was from Vladimir.
Oh, that's right.
Cat Pick Studios boy himself.
Yeah, he says, have our experiences for budget expectations for budget guitars become unrealistic? I recently had a series of comments on my channel of people who had negative experience with a budget guitar brand, and they were on a rampage copy pasting their story to every video about that brand. Felt a bit excessive when talking about a €200 instrument. And then
There was a guy who for a while who was copy pasting like his story about victory amps in the comment section of all our videos, and we've never once covered victory amps. I was like, excuse me, sir, why are you doing this? He's like, I just want to make sure people know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, now that you mention it, I remember that. And then, the flip side of this is Sean Pierce Johnson said, I actually had a guy get mad at me on one video that I was being too critical of a $300 guitar. I thought I was being pretty reasonable, but hell, what do I know? And, I think there is that. It's funny. And, we've kind of gone through this with,
every budget guitar that we've covered.
Where people, even on like the Tajima T900 video that you just dropped, which that's like a little like higher budget. It's like 620.
Yeah.
The dude was like, there were some guys like, that's not a budget guitar. It's like, well, I mean,
it's Mexican Fender prices.
It's cheaper. It's not Harley Benton. It's not like low-end Harley Benton prices, but
I don't think I even replied to that guy. I was like, you're not wrong, but you're not right. I don't feel like fighting about this.
Yeah. I just thought, I was like, well, whatever.
Anytime, it's every price of guitar. I was going to say something specific about prices, but it's like people will go crazy over every guitar, every price point, and they all think that they're amazing or that they're trash. Like, and then there's the reasonable people in between who say nothing because they're reasonable.
Well, I think there's some people who, whether or not we think $200 or $300 is a lot of money, whether or not it actually is a lot of money to the person buying, because the reality is, you go to some of these groups where people are like, awesome cheap guitars group or whatever, where or a Firefly fans group or Harley Benton fans group. And some of these people, now I guess at least with Harley Benton, you have like some options for body types, and to a lesser extent with Firefly, but there are people in the Firefly group who have like 6 338s
or a dozen of them.
I mean,
one from every single run.
One from every run in every color. And they're like, oh yeah, it's so, I can match my clothes or whatever. And it's like, some of those people are realistic. They recognize like, oh, I just have cheap stuff. I did see like one person in one of these groups where they're like, yeah, I just keep buying these like $150 guitars because I'm a $150 guitarist. And it's like, but you bought 6 of them. So you've literally spent $900 on cheap guitars, but you don't think you're good enough to own a $900 guitar. Like, but you think you're good enough to own $650 guitars.
So there's 2 extremes here, and both extremes are equally annoying. There's the extreme of the person who comments all the time, like, oh, these $200 guitars have gotten so good now. The days of Fender and Gibson prices are over.
Yeah,
and there's no reason why any guitar would ever need to cost more than $400. That's like one side of the extreme. Mm-hmm. The other side of the extreme is someone who's like, oh, nothing under $2,500 is allowed in my studio.
Right.
Like you have a guitar that was made in a factory on an assembly line. That's just so pedestrian, and we don't encounter that person a lot because they know to sit down and shut up in public places.
Well, we also
because they're just a rich asshole.
The reality is we also don't encounter that person a lot because there's for out of every like 20 guitarists, there's probably 10 of them who are like, oh yeah, cheap stuff. I'm never going to pay a full price for a Gibson when I can get 19 Harley Bentons for the same price. There's probably 10 of those people.
Right.
There's probably 9 people who are just like, just get whatever you want and leave me alone. And then there's the one dude who's like, your guitar wasn't made by hand by a single builder who chopped down the tree.
Your guitar isn't doesn't have the right
and if you're that guy, like, whatever, it's fine.
What season was the lumber harvested in?
Oh my gosh.
I don't play spring guitars
because I think there is, there's room for everybody. If you have an opinion and you want people to hear your opinion, I guess, that's what the YouTube comment section is ultimately for.
Right.
But there is something I think with, being comfortable with what you have, and also being realistic. That a comment that we get a lot is, "Oh, you're promoting this brand that I had a bad experience with. They must be paying you a lot of money."
Oh man, I wish. It goes both ways. And it's, I don't know. People just need to relax a little bit, but then also, the extreme sides of it feed the fandom and they feed the excitement of the interactions online. And I don't want it to stop.
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
I think the other side to this question is, Todd Malvano asked, who defines budget? Is it the user? Is it the brand?
That was a really clunky transition, Steve,
No,
but you did it.
Great transition.
You did it, Steve. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, we just make this show happen.
This question was, could connect to this. Yeah, like, what is a budget guitar? Because, like, talking about that Tajima, like, that is one of their higher end guitars is a $600, $700 guitar. Their guitars are known for like $200. That's squarely a budget guitar.
Yeah.
Like, I think
their Brazilian built guitars are like 900 to 1100. Somewhere up there.
And there's a Brazilian of them. For you, where does the line start for a budget guitar? Like, what do you consider budget?
Well, Ryan, when you factor in the continuing rising rate of inflation.
Oh my gosh.
What? No.
You have to consider whether or not let's consider whether or not the person buying it makes minimum wage in California. So what is that?
I have no idea.
$13 an hour right now?
I don't know.
Something like that.
I think in my head, like, a budget guitar is probably at this point. Well, I mean, it's model dependent, like type dependent. So I would say, like, for a semi-hollow, under 300. For anything else, it's like under 200. Is probably budget friendly. I'd probably just say anything under $400.
Yeah,
is budget friendly.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, anything that is, or almost most of the guitars that are being sold by a sub brand of a major manufacturer, or most of the guitars that are being sold to compete with the sub brand of a major manufacturer.
Also, I think there's a distinction between budget and affordable. Like,
I think
Squire Classic Vibe is affordable, but I wouldn't call it budget at like $350, $400.
But I think that's like a semantics.
But I think, like,
are you like how
budget would be like Squire Affinity. That's budget.
Sure.
I think there's a line in that sub brand right there between budget and affordable.
So in that case, is the budget model for any brand just like the cheapest model sold by that brand?
I think budget denotes a certain amount of compromise. Where if you're buying a Squire like Classic Vibe or whatever, you might be getting exactly what you want because they're actually like kind of cool instruments. Like same with like higher end Epiphones. Like if you get above $400 on an Epiphone, you're probably getting exactly what you want. You're not compromising. You're just getting an Epiphone.
Right. But if you're getting like an Epiphone Les Paul Special 2, you're just kind of like,
that's budget.
I want a Gibson-ish, a Gibson branded Les Paul. I know Epiphone is their sub brand. So
right. I need something with a single cut and a humbucker.
Do you think budget is exchangeable with like what you would think of as entry level?
Yes.
Because like Classic Vibe, I wouldn't necessarily say like that's a entry level guitar.
Well, anything is like entry level if you have the right amount of money. But it's like the bare minimum of what I would suggest to a new player. Like, oh, you could go get one of these and you could play it. Like,
right.
That's where the budget stuff starts. Like, you're not going to, like, if you lose $200 on your new hobby, that's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't keep up with the hobby. It
depends on what your new hobby is.
That's true. I mean, guitar. We talk about the prices of these things and like wring our hands over it. There's so many more expensive hobbies out there.
No, it's weird too. Like,
and you can make any hobby as expensive or as cheap as you like.
We've been trying, just thinking about this tangentially, like we've been trying to like really tighten up our budget this year and like actually, pay off some long-standing like student loans and stuff and like really focus on that. And it's crazy when you sit down and you start running the numbers on certain things. My family, we don't run like the tightest budget. Like
Sure.
we're not extravagant, but there's definitely things that like are expenses that only exist because of like laziness.
Right.
Or because of like, how much money could I save if like we started buying canned goods at the dollar store or whatever.
Right.
Kind of things. And so it's obviously everyone's situation is different. I don't think I necessarily represent the average listener to our show, but it's funny when I look at things and go, oh, like buying lunches at work. We just moved into trailers like a month ago. I've only brought lunch to work one time since we moved into trailers because it's like we don't have a sink, so I can't clean my dishes at work. So suddenly I can't bring dishes to work because I can't take a dirty dish home and clean it there. Like it doesn't make any sense. But then it's
like little things keep you from having it part of your daily flow.
So that's my point is only like, okay, so if I think about like the number of times I bought lunch since moving to these trailers at work, if I hadn't bought lunch all those times, I could get like a groat.
Oh yeah,
or like, so these things that like, I think there's a lot of things that we look at when we see a big number.
I'll give you a groat.
Yeah, I know. But no, I'm just saying like as an example, or like in a Squire Affinity or whatever, like these are things where it's like for, I think, an average person who actually sits down and looks at their budget and says, well, if I didn't go to Starbucks once a week, I could buy one of these in 3 months.
Right.
Or if I didn't, take an extra trip to Jack in a Box once a week or whatever, like I could do this thing. Or if I just made tacos at home instead of going to taco shop, even though you can't make taco shop tacos at home. Like, let's be honest. Like,
you can't get that Jack in the Box taco made at home.
Jack in the Box taco. Jack in the Box tacos are for when you're trying to save up for that budget guitar.
You don't have enough grease at home to make a Jack in the Box taco.
You don't put enough wood chips in your meat to make that Jack in the Box taco.
I don't even have wood chips in my pantry.
So, gonna have to grind up this table to get the sawdust you need.
I'm just gonna have to chew on sticks and put Diablo sauce on it.
Yeah.
And that's Taco Bell, isn't it?
So I mean, yeah. I don't know. Like the brands themselves definitely don't call things budget. Like they're saying like, oh, it's affordable or lowest price or
no, they'll find some sort of marketing term.
Yeah.
Because no brand wants to be like, oh, this is our cheap stuff.
Great value.
This is the very cheapest we could make a guitar for you. And here it is. It would be funny if a brand did, if they were like, this is it, guys. This is the cheapest guitar we could possibly make. Like Epiphone might as well have done it with the SL. Like,
yeah,
because everything about it, telegraphed that concept. Like, we really cut every corner we could here, guys. Like, it's probably cheaper that we painted it versus just leaving it raw somehow.
Oh my gosh.
Leaving it raw would have cost us more money. We had all this paint. We had to use the paint or we were going to get fined for by the EPA or something. Because that was a $99 guitar. Like, you cannot make a guitar cheaper than that and sell it. Like, I don't believe it. Like, even
they did call it, oh, hold on. I'm trying to see if I can find any, ad copy stuff for it.
They probably don't even mention the price. They're just like, oh, here's the features of this really kind of new and interesting concept.
Push it so
throw back to a Melody Maker.
Sweetwater did push it as the most affordable Les Paul ever made. So that's what I mean. Is like they'll say like it's the most affordable or great for beginners.
Lead Paul is a great Freudian slip for normal Les Paul.
Did I say Lead Paul?
Yeah, it's because they're so heavy. Get it?
Not the SL because it's popular.
Yeah, it's very popular. Wah, wah, wah. Nope. There it is.
That's it. That's all I got.
That's it, guys. We're done. We did it.
See ya. No, this next
Crushed
cool.
that topic.
This next ad is sent
I'm
by
so proud of us.
Kevin Hernandez. It is the Highland Plectrum Company, 1 USA, 1976 bicentennial $quarter coin plectrum.
Someone got a belt sander for Christmas.
This handmade guitar plectrum has been handcrafted from a genuine 1976 bicentennial USA $quarter coin, nickel on copper. Plectrum size, whatever. Picks made out of metal produce a much brighter sound than plastic. Metal picks made from coins give player a unique tone. The alloys used in various coins from around the world may vary greatly. That's called tone metal.
Tone metal.
Playing guitar with a metal pick gives a unique, rich, and bright sound, very different from normal plectrums.
And there's nothing more metal than defacing currency.
Yeah. This guy makes the best coin picks on Reverb. He says, how can I say this? Take a look at all the other coin picks on Reverb and compare the attention to detail that shows on my picks versus other sellers. I take the extra time to make my picks the right way. All the edges and sharp ridges are removed. The edges are whatever.
Yeah, who cares?
Like, basically, there's this one. There was also one that was an 1807 brass halfpenny from the UK.
Mm-hmm. I like how shiny George Washington looks on this quarter. He looks like Liquid Terminator. Hey, Terminator franchise. How about a George Washington?
That is
Terminator?
wild, though. Like, that's a lot of polishing.
Yeah, he really went to town on that
now,
one.
what's interesting is he mentions Brian May, but as far as I can tell, Brian May just had some change in his pocket.
He just uses a coin.
Yeah, he's not using a coin that he reshaped to be a pick.
Yeah.
It's just a coin.
So you're not going to get that authentic Brian May experience with these. You know what? Honestly, though, I really like just a Fender style or like Tortex style pick. I don't like these thick modern picks that everyone's like drooling all over and stuff. But if I was into those thicker picks and different materials and stuff, I might get one of these. I think they look kind of cool.
Would you pay $13.50 for one?
Well, that coin's from 1807.
Would you pay $9.43 for a coin that's only worth a quarter?
You know, maybe I'd try to make my own. You know, I'd bust out the sander at home and try to make my own.
I will say,
and then I would grind my knuckles off, and I'm like, oh, screw it, I'll just pay the guy.
The thing that's interesting about this too is I think because it's so polished and because of the beveling, it looks way thicker than a quarter.
Yeah.
I'm kind of confused.
No, I think it's just the lighting and the bevel on it gives you that impression. Probably feels very slick in the hand.
Yeah. Well, it's bumpy, so it's going to give you that grip the way like
yeah, you want that money grip.
The impression on like a regular pick would have.
Also, this is a 76.
Yeah.
He's picking cool dates and stuff. He's picking coins that, you know, have some sort of significance to it.
Yeah, it's got that drummer guy on the back.
You've got this
America!
one from 1801. I don't even...
1807.
1807. Halfpenny, copper, coin plectrum.
He's got some other ones.
I wonder how big that is.
There are a bunch of other pictures of other coins that he had that I didn't have. Basically, it's like, he's like, oh, go look at my Reverb shop. There's a bunch of different things.
In the grand scheme of things, like the money that you could spend on something for yourself, I mean, that's disposable income. $10, $13. I mean, you get something like, if you're smart with it, you'll have it forever.
Yeah, it's like, for what it's worth, like, what's a gravity pick? Like $5 a pick or something?
Yeah.
$6 a pick. Like,
and it doesn't have Liquid Terminator George Washington on it.
Yeah.
Liquid Terminator Abraham Lincoln would be awesome. Not today, John Wilkes Booth.
Oh my gosh. You know, the whole premise of the Terminator films is that they like sent him back into the past to like steal Skynet or whatever. Is that the premise? What's the premise?
Yeah, it's a heist movie to go back in time and steal Skynet.
Or like they sent a guy back to stop Skynet, and then they sent an android back to stop the guy, or I forget what the premise of the original Terminator is. Something like that. There's a bunch of time travel involved.
Right. The robots go back to kill Sarah Connor so she can't give birth to John Connor, who leads the resistance.
That's what it is.
And then also, what's his name has to go back in time to impregnate Sarah Connor.
Also, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's arm is actually what John Connor is fighting against in the future.
Well,
There's something.
it's so the first in the first Terminator, the robot gets squished in a hydraulic press, which is like the original hydraulic press video. But like his arm is sticking out trying to grab Sarah Connor, so the arm gets sheared off there.
Yeah.
And then so you think, oh, they've defeated the robots. It's going to be okay. Everything's fine. But then a new company finds that arm, pulls a chip out of it, reverse engineers it, and goes down the same path of developing.
No,
and that's,
exactly.
that's Terminator 2.
So what I'm saying is they made those two, and then they made Terminator 3. Was that Salvation?
It's all been downhill
And then,
after 2.
Terminator 4, Rise of the Clones, Terminator 5, Attack of the Clones, Terminator 6, A New Hope.
Right.
Terminator 7 needs to be Terminator 7 is Genesis. Terminator 8
Terminator 9,
Terminator 8,
2 Termy, 2 Nader.
Terminator 8
Tokyo Drift.
The Dead Presidents. That's the one where Liquid George Washington and Liquid Abraham Lincoln join forces to fight against Liquid Joseph Stalin and Liquid Benito Mussolini. But it's in the future. It's like 500 years post the events of the original 7 Terminator films.
Oh my gosh. I watched the newest one. It was not worth watching.
Yeah, which is disappointing because it wasn't a James Cameron.
He produced it, and it had the original actress in there. And of course, it had Arnold again as old Arnold. And it had some cool... It wasn't the actors' faults. I'll say that.
Okay.
The actors were great. It just was boring.
Right.
It was just a boring story. Like, they need to... If they want to do another Terminator movie, right, they need to go back to the drawing board and rethink what they're doing, because just doing the same thing over and over again is...
I think that's a difficulty because between Terminator and Terminator 2, they did like the aliens thing.
Yeah.
Though legitimately, like Aliens was still pretty... Like when I was a kid, I remember watching either of those, and both of them
I'll watch any of the Alien movies and be entertained just fine.
Right.
They don't get quite as bad. I mean, the Resurrection was pretty bad. They don't get quite as bad as the Terminator movies. Predator movies, on the other hand, get super bad.
I've only seen the first 2. I haven't seen any other ones.
That's all you need to see. And in my opinion,
the second one is better than
Predator
the first?
2 is the best Predator movie.
It's pretty good. I don't know if it's better.
It's got Los Angeles with Jamaicans and the net that cuts Jamaicans up and stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's got, the first one has its charms, but second Predator holds a special place.
It's always that thing where it's like, do you really need all, like, they set, obviously, like Predator 2 set up for a million sequels, because at the end he gets the pirate gun.
Right.
And that's the realization that these predators have been coming to Earth for hundreds of years, and so now you've set up a universe for a bunch of films. But it's like,
where's that pirate gun movie?
Yeah, do you like
show us a Predator fighting pirates?
You need the Predator movie where it's Orlando Bloom as his character from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Crossovers.
Orlando Bloom and Johnny Depp team up.
And Liquid Abraham Lincoln is there. Not today, John Will Smith.
That one would be set in the in the piracy days. So you got to have like Liquid Benjamin Franklin.
No, here's the thing. You think it's Benjamin Franklin. That's just the liquid skin over an Abraham Lincoln exoskeleton.
So it's Benjamin Franklin, but it's really tall.
No, like once the liquid gets blown off, then he stands up all the way, and it's been Abraham Lincoln in there, Robo Abraham Lincoln.
It's the T-800 like red eye skull, but it's got a beard.
The top hat, like.
Speaking of insanity, this week's episode is also brought to you by Chase Plus Audio.
I mean, we got pretty creative just now, but if you're looking for pedals more creative than you are and more creative than we are, Chase Plus pedals is the way to go.
Yeah, they've got all kinds of pedals to fit your needs. You need a drive pedal.
The
Get the
brothers.
brothers. You need a tremolo pedal.
Gravitas.
You need a chorus.
Warped vinyl.
Delay.
I mean, a lot of their pedals can be chorus pedals. Delay. I mean, you've got Therme. You've got
Tonal recall.
tonal recall.
You got red knob tonal recall.
Yeah, I've got the red knob tonal recall. No big deal.
You got all kinds of choices. You know what you can't get?
You got reverb. You got dark world reverb.
Dark World. You got CXM someday.
Yeah, they got all these pedals, man. You got to check them out. They got the Condor. A very endangered bird.
What did Condor sound like?
Just like what we
Yes, nailed it.
You know, like a condor.
Go check him out. ChasePlusAudio.com. Hi, Joel.
Hi, Joel. Thanks for sponsoring the show again. Another topic.
Yeah.
Trevor Smith asks, are you willing to share a guitar with a friend, or is that too personal of an ask?
Some people are pretty picky with what they will loan out. Sometimes I know some people will only loan out pedals. Some people will not loan out guitars or amps because, you know, there's more things that could go wrong.
I feel like I would be pretty iffy loaning out a tube amp because stuff can go wrong. Like I handle my tube amps pretty delicate. And loaning it to someone outside of like, oh, you're playing a double bill with a band, and they're like, hey, can I use your amp? Like, yeah, sure, it's already there. You're not going to move it around. But the thought of someone like running a tube amp really hot, and throwing it in their trunk and having it bounce around in their trunk gives me the heebie-jeebies a little bit. But I think I have no problem loaning a guitar to a friend. Depends on the friend.
Yeah.
Although I do have the mentality that you should never loan anything to a musician if you care about ever seeing it again. Because, I mean, if it's your close friend, like I would loan something to you or Adam.
Right.
Like, no problem. I loaned some Harley Bentons to Sean Pierce Johnson. I know he's not going to disappear with them. You know, like, it depends on the person. But, like, just a regular, normal musician that I might happen to know, like, I don't know, man. Stuff disappears. People do weird, dumb stuff. I've heard horror stories, you know, of people loaning stuff out and then that person pawns it or, like, tries to do some sort of neck swapperoo on it.
I've actually had this happen once to me at the same church, once to me, once to somebody else. I found out when I later came back. Like it was a house instrument, and this was working with like teenagers.
Right.
And there was a house instrument that was just like in a closet, and somebody came in and was like, "Oh yeah, I'd be interested in playing with the church and whatever." And then like they're like, "Oh well, okay, cool. Like, well, I don't have an electric guitar, but like if you guys have one, like maybe I can like work on that, so I'm not just playing my like classical at home or whatever."
Right.
And then in the situation that I was actually directly involved in, I loaned out a guitar that was just like a Squier Affinity that was donated, and that thing disappeared. And like I think like the kid I loaned it to thinks like I was giving it to him.
Oh.
He's like, "Oh, I love this thing." Like he was like posting about it on social media. I was like, I didn't want to be like, "Oh yeah, dude, like you should probably bring that back at some point."
That's not yours.
And then the other situation was same church, was a Mexican Strat. Like it was a Burgundy, or like what do they call like the midnight wine? Mexican Strat. And I actually went back I wanted to buy it off the church. I was like, "Hey, if you still have that thing sitting in the closet and you want some money for like the church budget, like I'll throw like a couple $100 your way, or like $250, whatever."
Was it Mexican?
At the time, yeah. It's a Mexican with like a tweed case. Like it was
nice.
like pretty nice.
I remember that Burgundy. That's a pretty Burgundy.
Yeah, and I was like gonna go do that, and I found out that basically somebody's friend showed up one week and was like, "Oh, you guys have a band? Cool. I play guitar, but I don't have an electric guitar." So they're like, "Oh, well, you can borrow ours and whatever." Took it home. And then like
never came back.
And in that case, like I was like, why would you do that? Like at least the kid that I gave it to was part of the band. I didn't, know he was gonna ghost.
Right.
This person, like literally, I think
just only walked in off the street.
Only came in like one or two. Well, they were like somebody's friend, but they only came in like one or two times. Like borrowed this thing and like I'm like, all right, cool.
So what you're saying is that it's really easy to take advantage of churches. So if you guys want to steal stuff, go check out your local church. Walk away with a pipe organ, apparently. A friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, was learning how to drum.
Yeah.
Years and years back. Then she had to move out of town for school, I think. School or work. One of those two things.
I have no idea. I just thought she wanted to be a jet setter.
I don't know. And so she lent her drum kit. She got this nice like Gretsch kit.
Yeah.
That a friend of ours helped her pick out and learn how to play it and whatnot. She lent it to another friend who was going to use it as his garage kit or whatever. She comes back like 2 or 3 years later.
Were any of these a tall friend or a small friend?
No.
Okay.
I mean, some of them did seem to have a problem with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Ska fans will get the reference.
Everyone else will hate us.
Yeah. They don't know enough to hate us over that. And so she comes back 2 or 3 years later. It must have been for school. And she's like, hey, I can take my drum kit back now. And he's like, oh, that's gone. She's like, what do you mean it's gone? Oh, someone like stole it out of the garage. What? Like phones exist, emails exist. How come you didn't tell me about this when it happened? Like
MySpace existed.
MySpace existed. Yeah. Why didn't you hit me up on Zynga, dude?
Yeah.
And to me, like she called me up and was like, what do I do about this? And I was like, to me, it sounds like the dude probably sold it.
Yeah.
Like, how well do you know this guy? Like, he probably sold it because he got tired of storing it for you.
That's when you're like, well, you have you have a different drum kit you're going to give me, right?
Right. You're going to go get me a different drum kit. Like, oh, did the insurance give you some payout for that? Like, that would have been my question.
Yeah.
Like, when your garage was stuff was stolen out of it, what did your insurance give you? I would like to use that money to go buy a new drum kit.
You still have a copy of the police report, right?
Yeah. It's just, but that's what I'm saying. Like, don't loan stuff to musicians unless like you are fine with stuff disappearing. Don't loan anything out to anyone unless you're fine with it getting destroyed. Like I've loaned out my car to friends.
Yeah.
I've just been like, well, if they crash it, that's what insurance is for.
Yeah. Or at least like, especially if you're not near enough to the situation to be like, in a few weeks, like you're like, oh, hey, here's my drum set. I'll see you in 3 years. I feel like
that's kind of a crazy ask too.
Yeah.
to leave something behind for 3 years.
And I literally know, like, I think I have an amp that's now been on loan for like close to 3 years. Not that one. That one I see every other week. I'm saying like
that's been on loan for like 7 years now. I even have my own version of it.
No, my satellite amp.
Oh yeah, the satellite. Co's got it, right?
Probably get that back at some point.
Co, give Steve his amp back.
I should probably figure out how, if there's ever going to be a way for me to play electric guitar inside of the house.
I know, right?
The bigger problem.
Here's what we need to do. We need to pick up probably 300 or 400 more Patreons, and then we can use that money to get a warehouse somewhere and have 60 Cycle Home Studios where you and I can both like keep our rigs and actually go play guitar.
I think if we probably could do it with another 150 Patreons. I think we might be able to do it.
Patreon goals, guys.
Yeah.
Put us up in a warehouse.
Speaking of Patreon, this is time for housekeeping.
Here we go. Let's sweep up. Spring cleaning.
We actually don't have any new Patreons this week.
Oh, disappointing.
But I will say that I got all of the merch sent out.
Nice.
This past week, finally, about 2 months of backlog. I finally got that all sent out to like 7 or 8 different people.
So we sent that cheap fuzz to one of them.
Yeah.
And he commented on the video like, oh, no, that's okay, guys. You don't have to send me that awful fuzz.
No, well, it was because it was like,
it's
because it was international shipping. So that thing, it actually cost more to ship that pedal than I think you paid for it.
Probably.
Which reminds me, I need to total up my shipping because it was pretty expensive to ship everything.
That's what the
but that's
Patrons
fine.
pay for.
Exactly. That's what it's for. But yeah, we've been doing giveaways. I think we're kind of out of stuff to give away. Maybe.
Nah, we're gonna have some more stuff.
All right, we're gonna get some more stuff.
I've been buying mini pedals with Patreon money to do videos with.
There we go.
I can't keep all this stuff. I'm really thinking about just putting them all in a bucket and letting people come over and bob for pedals.
Bob for gross. But yeah, the whole point of this is what Patreon allows us to do. The support from Patreon is it allows Ryan to like make dumb videos.
It allows us to travel.
It allows us to do this without our wives hating us all the time.
It allows us to have a meal before we podcast that no one had to cook, so that like one of the adults here in this house could take care of the children and not have to worry about making food,
It paid for this beer.
Paid for that beer. It makes this show possible. It paid for the set behind us,
Pays for Ryan's diabetes treatments.
Maybe it will. I don't know.
I mean, in a roundabout way, I'm sure it does somewhere. If it covers any one bill for you, then it assists in your general existence.
Listen, I'm working with Diabetes, the sequel here. Like, this is serious business. This isn't the first one where they introduced diabetes. Like, everyone knows.
This is Diabetes 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Exactly.
Diabetes 2 Judgment Day.
That's what it feels like. It feels like I'm holding onto the fence and all my skin's being blown off.
Anyway,
getting old is fun.
Head on over to patreon.com/60cyclehumcast. Whether it's $1, $2, $26, like, we don't care.
Every time I prick my finger to test my blood, it's like I'm cutting off the skin of my forearm and tearing it off my hand. Support us on Patreon, guys. I've got diabetes.
All right, this last ad was sent by Nick Poppin. This is a Doodad Lucille. Doodad is a company out of the Netherlands. This just says...
More like the nether regions. That's awful. That's a stupid joke. I'm sorry, the Netherlands. You don't deserve that.
It says Doodad Lucille in mint condition, features finish in gold, works perfect and will be delivered as shown in the images. For any further information, please don't hesitate to contact us. This is $566.36 plus shipping. There was only one of them.
My question is, with this guitar, is this a poop-themed guitar? Because the brand is Doodad, as in doo-doo. Doo-doo dad? Poop father? And then the inlays look suspiciously...
like poop emojis.
Like poop emojis.
I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be clouds, and Doodad definitely does not refer to poop.
Poop dad. Poop father. No, I think there's some warning signs with this guitar.
Okay.
I mean, clearly, when you look up the site, you're like, okay, these are like budget instruments. Mm-hmm. These are import, things that he's having made somewhere. A big warning sign to me is that you can see the logo inside of the F-hole for this thing. It's like a 338 style or 335 style thing here. Uh-huh. The logo has checkerboard around the edge of it. That's a big red flag. I don't want ska boys making my guitars.
I don't know, man.
Responsible enough.
All I know is when I see that checkerboard around that sticker in this guitar, all it really makes me want to do is take this guitar and pick it up.
Yeah, you want to pick it up. But then when you pick it up and you see the poop emoji inlays, you're like, oi, oi, oi. And then you put it down. I mean, I like the yellow. I like the color. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a cool look, but there's definitely some funky stuff going on here with the brand. You look at the website and it looks like it was made in like 1998. There might as well be an animated GIF of fire and laughing skulls.
I'm surprised there's not a counter at the bottom, like a visit,
exactly.
a visit counter.
Exactly. Oh, wow. This site has been visited 492 times. That doesn't seem like a very high number, guys.
This site is copyright 2020. This is an active site.
It's an active site right now. And they do all sorts of like copy guitars. Like they're sold out of them, but they have some modern shapes that I thought looked pretty cool. But they also do like some Les Pauls, Stratty type stuff. I mean, clearly these things are being made
Telecaster
overseas
SG.
at these price points, and they're just ordering whatever and just slapping a new headstock on them.
It's like a PRS Santana looking thing.
Yeah, with a Kramer headstock for some reason. Tellys, SGs, Strats. I mean, all the classics.
Some of these kind of feel like they've like taken over the Hamer XT line.
Yeah. I mean, if it's the same factory as Hamer, then buy this thing.
Probably isn't.
Yeah, probably is not. There's something funky about the headstock shape too, the way it transitions from the nut to the headstock. Like it's just too long. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
There's something weird about that.
I don't know. I don't hate the headstock.
I don't hate it either.
They definitely do dig in pretty heavy on this checkerboard theme.
So they want 566 for this. How do you even figure
I feel like
the value of a poop themed ska guitar?
The problem is this says it's a 14% price drop, but I feel like that price, like it feels like retail.
It does.
Feels like you're charging me retail here.
Yeah.
What's it gonna take?
Someone just caught up on the recent season of Letterkenny.
What's it gonna take to put this? I don't know. I forget what he said.
Yeah, I forget where that whole bit went.
What's it gonna take to get this?
Canadian Pickers was the bit.
Canadian Pickers, which I is that a real thing? They definitely played it off like it's a real
American
thing.
Pickers is a real thing.
I know American Pickers is a real thing, but anyway, I
don't look it up.
I'm not gonna look it up.
Leave some mystery in our life, Steve.
I lost my pen.
Yeah, I have no idea what the value of this guitar is, what it plays like. I just know that there's some warning signs there.
Yep.
They might not be warning signs to other people, but I look at it and like, well, I don't know. I have nothing against ska. I'm an old time ska boy.
Mm-hmm.
Probably third or fourth wave is when I came in.
Probably third. I don't know. What is your go-to ska? I'll tell you what wave you are on.
I came of age in the Boss Tones era.
Yeah, that's third.
That's third. There you go. I'm not
third.
fourth wave. I'm proud to be third wave.
I don't think is there a fourth? Let us know if there's a fourth wave of ska.
I think we're up to the 8th or 7th, honestly. There's a lot of waves in this set. I'm not even talking about surf rock here. All right, take us out of here, Steve. I got nothing left to say about this poop guitar.
All right, this song was sent by Patrick Kenny. He says, I wanted to send over a track titled 1993 from the new record from my band, Husbands. We're a shoegaze / doom bop band from Boston, Massachusetts. Hope you like it, Patrick and Aiden. So here we go. This song is 1993 by Husbands.
You're the sun and the moon to me.
That's a track I can get behind.
Yeah.
I like
like
a lot of the like spacier, like Dandy Warhol stuff, and it's kind of
I can hear
scratching that itch, you know?
Maybe that's why it's called 1993.
I don't get the reference, but sure.
Just because that's what music sounded like in 1993.
I guess. Yeah,
I
maybe.
don't know.
Is that what music
I
sounded
like
like in
it.
1993?
Send us more.
All right. Yeah. Bye,
You
everyone.
want it? Okay, bye. Stick around.